Today we address what the internet is saying about film threat. So, Bobby, shame on you. Shame on you.
Bad taste.
I'm Alan Ning. I'm with Bobby LePire, one of our editors.
How is everyone?
Yeah. Hey, everybody. We're reviewing The Mitchells versus the Machines. Please hit that like button because I know you're going to want to like this video. It's on Netflix. It's a quirky, dysfunctional family road trip that's upended when they find themselves in the middle of a robot apocalypse and suddenly become humanity's unlikeliest last hopes. Again, it's directed by Rianda, Jeff Rowe, stars Abbi Jacobson, Danny McBride, Maya Rudolph. Hey, so we're just gonna jump right into it with what the internet is saying. Bobby, you're the one who reviewed it for Film Threat. You gave it a 1 out of 10. You called it the worst film of the year to date. And it's quite an impressive feat in all the wrong ways. So we've our site's been kind of blowing up with comments. Hey, so in less than a minute, give us kind of the basic what you didn't like about Mitchell and the Machines.
Outside of the voice acting, everything. The animation can't decide on a single style. And this isn't like a Into the Spider-Verse way where it all blends seamlessly into one visually stunning whole. It uses 2D elements. It's mainly CGI, but there's also real life elements such as picture frames and stuff throughout the film for no discernible reason. Just the animation style itself is nonsensical, and that nonsense filters down through the stories, specifically the characterizations of the two parents who need to be punched. The parents need to be punched.
Okay, good. You got that in under a minute. Hey, so let's okay, so I have my thoughts. I've seen it. I didn't see it because of your review. Now I saw it because of all the comments. So let's go over a couple of the comments. Let me see. I'm going to go with first with Rodrigo Gaspar, and he wants to let you know that this is animation.
It's animation?
Yes. Yeah. I think you were thinking this was Citizen Kane. But no, it was a cartoon.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain I actually thought it was a shadow puppet play that I hallucinated.
So you're saying that you were taking the wrong shrooms.
I think so. I'm just confused by this comment. Like, animated movies can't be bad. I don't know what he means here.
But let's say I think if I were to guess, I think maybe it's the idea that maybe you're being a little too serious on what is a kid's film. Maybe that I'll just get to my thought, but it's the dumbing. It's animation, so I think automatically we kind of dumb down our expectations of the quality of the story.
Okay, that I get. To that, I would point to other family-friendly animated movies I reviewed on the site positively, like Sergeant Stubby, I gave a 9 or 9.5 out of 10. And then Curious George. It's my go-to answer anytime somebody says that sort of thing. Curious George is squarely aimed for 3 to 8-year-olds, but it's perfect. It's perfect. The characterizations are perfect. The animation is perfect. The blending of music and story and the bright colors just works. You don't, just because it's animated and for families doesn't mean it has to be dumb, and doesn't mean that somebody who isn't its target demographic can't enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, I liken it to my review of Soul. I didn't hate Soul, but I was not a big fan of Soul, and I felt like the biggest problem with it was it was too serious for the medium. That I think it was trying to tell a very adult story with adult characters in adult situations in a very cartoony child Pixar style. It's like a seriously dramatic version of Inside Out. And I couldn't quite blend the two ideas together, the seriousness of the story and the soft edges and childishness of the animation.
That makes sense. I remember you said in your review, you didn't think kids would be running out to Burger King or wherever for the toys of Soul.
Yeah, no one's buying a Joe doll.
Yes, that was it.
And I don't think
I don't disagree with that actually, but I still did enjoy Soul.
You did enjoy Soul.
I did. I liked that movie.
Okay.
I liked its characterizations of Joe. Like, they very easily and efficiently set up that he's not fulfilled in life. My biggest critique of that movie comes at the end, but we're not here to discuss that.
Yeah.
And we'd be here all day if we did.
Yeah,
so.
and I don't think Soul. I don't think Soul was a great introduction of jazz for children. Okay, so moving on. Here we go. This is from Wayland Bedlam, and it says our opinions about movies are subjective by their very nature. As such, it's virtually impossible for someone's opinion to be objectively wrong about movies. Oh, he's sympathizing with us as critics. Nevertheless, you managed to pull it off here, Mr. LePire. Hats off. So yeah, I think there's a fairness here in the sense of it is our opinion. In fact, let's just get to it. Yeah. Okay, so we just checked. The Mitchells and Machines is currently 97% on Rotten Tomatoes, with 150 reviews. So Bobby, you are one of 5 negative reviews for this movie. So Todd D basically says, "Congrats on getting noticed. I noticed you. Your opinion and critique have been noticed in a sea of positive reviews. Contrarians unite." Yeah, I think there is something to be said about, if something's getting 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, being the lone voice of negativity, so to speak, makes you stand out. But I will say that, Bobby, you are tough, but we're definitely not go in with the intention of ruining a perfect score on Rotten Tomatoes.
No, this was a movie I watched before I knew I was going to review it, and I had mild expectations for it. I wasn't super excited for it, but I didn't think it would be bad at all.
Yeah, and I will say personally that I've seen the commercials for this movie, and nowhere in there was I thinking this is going to be 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's 97%. I'm saying that in the sense of I wasn't too thrilled with wanting to see this movie. And
yeah, I like animated movies a lot. I like sci-fi stories, and you throw a dysfunctional family in there. Everything about this theoretically on paper should work for me. So we watched it the day after it came out. It came out on a Friday, I believe. We watched it that Saturday. And I watched it with my wife, and we both hated it. I definitely disliked it more than she did, I feel. But we both had very strong negative reactions to the film. And then I happened to post about it in our little chat area. And I was approached to write the review because I didn't like it. I didn't go in expecting to write this review at all. And then I wasn't comments, but it makes me kind of happy that this is so.
The comments any publicity is good publicity. I mean, I'm the one who approached you about writing the review. I'm the one who greenlit it. I'm the one who greenlit the final draft. And to me, I honestly, when I greenlit everything, I don't go on Rotten Tomatoes and look at where every film stands and then make a decision on what review should go out about it. I had no idea that this would be close to 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I just kind of greenlit because you're pretty passionate about the movie, rightly or wrongly.
I read 0 reviews for the movie, and I've still read 0 reviews for the movie, excluding the one I wrote, obviously. And all I knew about the film going into it before I watched it was its general premise and that it was getting some positive buzz in terms of just the general, people are talking about it in a positive way, kind of on Twitter and whatnot. And that's what I knew about the film.
Let me see. So Kara says, I give this review 1 out of 10. We get that you like writing reviews, but this one falls short. Maybe stick to analyzing the genre of film you enjoy watching. Wow, that's passive aggressive. Quite frankly, at its base, you appear to have forgotten something termed suspension of disbelief. All right, tell me, are you taking this movie too seriously?
According to lots of the comments, apparently I am.
Yes, I agree that's the majority of the comments.
Specifically later in Kara's comment here, which I will argue is the best, most reasonable comment that we've received from anybody so far, is my issue with these robots. They turn evil essentially after a minute. They're introduced in this tech conference, and they instantly turn evil. And there's no buildup, there's no suspension. It just happens. It's kind of boring. And then they just magically have a base of operation that they completely run. It's entirely automatic. And how did they build this?
Yeah.
I don't need everything to adhere to the real world logic. The robots couldn't exist then, but it should have internal logic. And this movie has none of that. Characters react or act in ways that don't make sense based on how they previously acted. And things happen in the plot solely to move the plot forward, as opposed to making sense with what we're shown of this world.
Yeah, I mean, I will agree with you in this idea that, you know, this movie does it does take a lot of shortcuts when it comes to storytelling and building empathy and sympathy for characters. You know, you're just supposed to accept the fact that things have gone bad because it needs to turn bad. And quite frankly, you know, it's just like they're going to turn bad. You just need to accept it. And, you know, that's kind of what we call cheap heat. So Father Ben says, what movie is worth 1 out of 10? You're out of your mind or just trolling because you're a movie critic. You don't have to be critical of everything. You're allowed to have an opinion, of course, but we're allowed to critique you too. I can't imagine you being fun at the kinds of parties I like to go to, where people have fun and can experience joy out of the film. And you also did get another comment from Gabriel Salah, just commenting that you must be fun at parties.
I did reply to Salah there saying, I don't understand the correlation between going to a party and me disliking a movie. And I honestly thought the one you just read from Father Ben was that person's reply. And the fact that it's not cracks me up. Yeah. I don't understand what the two have to do with each other at all. I will find it very amusing that this Father Ben person is saying, hey, you're a critic. Be critical, but don't be critical. You can't have it both ways. I don't know what they want in that. Like, you're literally saying I can't do the thing that is the thing you're saying critics do.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that, you know, as a critic, I think I think in my mind a lot of times it's okay. What's wrong with this movie? And we focus on what's wrong because we have to write about it, as opposed to taking a movie, celebrating a movie, and then maybe pointing out a few shortcomings. And I think people's opinions of critics are that all they want to do is crap on a movie. And I think that's what they're saying here. It's, you know, it's like you are tough on movies, but you are also a big advocate of movies that are actually good. And, you know, so I think a lot of times the negative is much louder than the positive. And so I think there's some kind of a hang up people have with critics. And, you know, and when you give something a 1 out of 10, man, that says a lot too.
It does say a lot. And to answer his first question, what movie is worth it? If I'm giving something a 1 out of 10, it wasn't worth it. It's not worth the time investment or I put into watching the movie or writing the review. That is what that means. More importantly, what you said reminds me of both Ratatouille. At the end of that movie, Anton Ego gives a stirring speech about why he's changed his ways and like how negative criticism is both fun to write and fun to read. It reminds me, you were saying how we go into movies, at least in people's minds, how we go into movies to
criticize it. Yeah.
To criticize, to look for negative things. But that's not true. I want to have fun with anything I'm watching. If I'm going to not for a drama, but like I want to be engaged with anything I'm watching.
Yeah.
If I'm spending the 2 hours or however long it is doing that, make it worth my time. More importantly, you meet every movie halfway. If a movie is a serious drama about World War II, for example, I don't expect it to make me laugh. And if I'm writing this movie had no laughs, it was very serious, 1 out of 10, I'd be rightfully lambasted for that online. But if I am watching a comedy like Anchorman, real life movie, I don't like it. I don't laugh at it. I think it's dumb. Mm-hmm. I have friends who adore that movie.
I love that movie. I love Anchorman. I've seen Anchorman.
They quote it all the time. I just, that's fine. I didn't laugh.
So let's just talk about it. You gave it a 1 out of 10. I would personally give it a 6.5 out of 10. I give it a bare recommendation because, you know, I this is one of those where it would show up as a positive on Rotten Tomatoes, but I'm not super thrilled or excited about it. I'm definitely not going to watch it again. And I think a lot of the criticisms you had for it, I gave it a pass. It is a cartoon. It is a children's movie. There's silly things going on. I liked it. I thought it had a pretty good message about family. The whole father-daughter dynamic was pretty good. My issue with the movie really is that it does a really horrible job combining seriousness with silliness. And for me, it was just, it was kind of like flipping on a light switch. Okay, we're gonna be serious, we're gonna be silly, serious, silly, and that light switch is moving really fast. And I found myself having a hard time just really wanting to, feel like that this was a great experience.
I disagree on the father-daughter relationship working, because that's the crux of what I hated about the movie.
Yeah, I mean, it is the heart of the movie. So.
It is, and it doesn't work. He's so ill-defined. What is his job? Has he ever watched one of her movies in its entirety? I don't get why he's so dismissive of her. Like, throughout the movie, we're shown how good of a father he was at one point when she was a real little kid and stuff. What made that change? Is he overworked? Yeah. Does he just no longer understand her?
Well, I mean, I will say in this case, as a father of a teen myself, there is that image, those experiences, those memories and feelings you have of your young child when they're at that small and that cute age, when you are the greatest person in the world. And if a father doesn't kind of grow along with his daughter, that's where we get into this point where he's more fixated on who she used to be and no longer accepting of who she is today, or understands who she is today. And I think that's what I appreciated about that story dynamic.
That makes sense. But then I think the movie should show us that sort of thing. All these revelations happen later in the film. So by the time they happen, you're already questioning how this relationship works. He's such a blank slate that this change he's supposed to be going through as the movie draws closer to an end, his arc doesn't mean anything because he was nothing before. You can
let me build upon that. I think character development in this movie is horrible. It's just and you mentioned it, we don't have backstory. It's so that creates a bland character. I think the Katie character is probably the most developed character in this, because that she has some she has interests, she has passions. Her brother is supposed to be sort of like her, but her brother has this really adult, annoying voice, and he likes dinosaurs and cats, and it's just like, I feel like that character was built just for comedy's sake. And then you have these two robots in the middle of the film that turn good, but they there's no personality other than the robots that turn good. And I think the movie does suffer from severe blandness in its characters.
I couldn't agree anymore. And when the heart of your story rests upon those characters changing, then your story is not going to work. If I have a lump of clay that's just a round ball of clay, I can make it into anything I want. So by the end, it's the exact thing I hope it would be, presuming I know how to make whatever it is I'm working on. But if I'm taking something that's already made out of clay and I want to reshape it somehow, that's much tougher. And nothing in this movie does that. There's one moment at the end that is very sweet and interesting. And if you aren't paying attention, you'll miss it. And the movie should have been dealing with that somehow. I don't want to spoil it, so this sounds very vague, and I apologize.
Yeah, well, let's just say that all movies about fathers and daughters resolve themselves in a serious, emotional, sentimental way at the end. So, there's no surprise here. In terms of comedy, my issue there is the fact that I think they were just shoving joke, doing gag after gag after gag. The whole alien invasion, which is fine. I like the idea of a father and daughter getting to know one another better in the backdrop of an alien invasion or robot apocalypse. I like that idea. But it just felt like they're nothing's organic to the story, that they're just telling jokes and gags for the sake of telling jokes and gags. And when that happens, you usually get like a 10% hit rate. I don't think you laughed. I maybe laughed once or twice out loud in the movie.
No, I don't think I laughed at all.
Yeah.
I like the giant Furby attack sequence.
Mm-hmm.
That's the highlight of the movie for me. It's a fun sequence. It uses a Furby, which just I thought was ridiculous in a good way. But most of the other action scenes I found very samey. The robots only attack in a few specific ways.
Mm-hmm.
So it got rather boring kind of quickly.
Yeah, like stormtroopers, the generic stormtroopers. What is it? It's more like Spaceballs more than Star Wars.
Yes.
It's like, okay, just put in a gag. We need a gag here. Here's it's getting too serious. Let's throw a gag in. Here's an open spot. Throw a gag in. Well, I like it to an improv show where people are standing on stage trying to think of something funny to say. And so they comment on whatever. And this is a very commenty kind of comedy as well. And, it does.
Real good. I like that analogy a lot. That works.
Okay. So, yeah, again, I think if anything, I want to get across is, we didn't give it a negative review because everyone else was giving a positive review. Clearly we didn't know what the reviews were when we wrote it. And so, that's where we stand here. And I'll be totally honest. It's a bare recommendation for me. And, that'll show up as a like on Rotten Tomatoes. I think you are harsh on it, but I do understand a lot of what you had to say.
I do want to say one thing. On Twitter, a lot of people have been messaging me saying that they're happy to see a negative review because they also didn't like it.
Yeah.
But none of those people are leaving comments on the Film Thought website, which I find fun.
Well, I gave Cats one of its few positive reviews. I won't get into the reason why, but I in turn did get many comments in private saying, yeah, I like the movie too. So, what are you going to do? So someone's got to get out there, lean their head forward and get their head chopped off. So that's our job. With that, please be sure to like, subscribe, comment below. Please, we've been getting a lot of comments. Just join in with the party and do that below. And with that, let's get out of here.